up, witches? I'm Taylor.
And I'm Amber.
And this is Waking Up the Witch.
We're your neighborhood witches, and each week we get together and talk about all things witchy.
We're two curious ladies trying to understand the human experience, but while we do that, we think it's important to honor the people that lived here before us and honor the cultures and traditions that we're being inspired by.
This podcast is about waking up the witch, which means we are learning and growing every day. That being said, we're always open to feedback on how we can do better.
Now, let's go, ghouls. Hi, Amber.
Hello, Taylor.
How's it going?
Pretty good for me over here.
What's in your lap?
I have a cute little puppy dog in my lap named Tofu.
Hello. Where'd he come from?
We got a new puppers this week. I picked him up in Portland and we took a little road trip home together. Oh, he's trying to get the snacks. He's a real cute boy. His name's Tofu. He's a Shiba Inu, like our wonton. Cute. So we have a wonton and a tofu.
That is amazing.
So cute. So, yeah, he's a little baby. So I figure since we're here today, one, puppies just make everything feel a little bit happier. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, that way I could take care of him, keep him company, and make sure he's getting out and stuff in case Dad has to work a lot today. So I'm just hanging out with the cute boy.
He's so cute.
Yeah.
How's he been this whole week?
Oh my God. He's like literally the best puppy so far. And I've been kind of like waiting for that shoe to drop thing. Like he's just getting comfortable kind of vibe. But I mean, he's definitely, you can see him becoming more confident. So, you know, he is kind of getting more open to his surroundings and meeting his sisters because he's the only boy pet in your house.
Cats and 2 dogs.
So he's the man of the house now. He's definitely chosen me as his human.
And me.
Yeah, and he loves you already. He's bonding with Mark, but he I don't know. I think he just likes females. Seeing how he was following you around a bunch today. Hey, Tofu, sit. Leave it.
Focus.
Leave it. Good boy. So yeah, they're bonding. I'm making Mark feed him his breakfast and dinner if he's around and do tricks with him to kind of grow some bonding. Because if I'm in the kitchen cooking or doing dishes or something, and Mark's in the living room with all the animals, Tofu eventually just goes and lays in his crate and waits for Mom to come back. So he's officially chosen me.
So cute.
He's learning so quickly already. I've been doing a little bit of training with him, teaching him the basics. He not instantly, when I first picked him up, I put the leash on him and his harness, and he was bouncing around and twirling in circles and was like, fuck this shit. Get it off of me.
What is it?
Yeah. But I mean, we had a road trip back to Medford, which is about 4 hours. But with a new puppy, it was 5 hours because I had to make a couple stops. But eventually he got kind of used to the leash, when I'd go walk him. And then now that we've been at home, it's almost like he's leash trained already. It's so crazy. He doesn't really pull on it too much. He's pretty comfortable. So he's learning super quick and has been really good. Zoe, our oldest dog, she really likes him actually, which she was really weird when we got Wonton. She was like, I know this isn't just a visitor. This is an intruder. What is going on? Because she was the only one for so long. But now she's like, more animal siblings, please. I'm sure that's what she's saying, but but yeah, she was with very few dogs, she gets really excited and she'll get her ears all perked up, and wiggle her butt and get really excited. And she's already done that with him, night one. So I'm like, okay, she likes him.
She barked at him at first?
No, she was really great. Wonton, however,
I showed Kurt that picture.
Straight up showing us her Cujo side. That first night she was making sounds I've never heard her made before. Like, what is wrong with you? She's warming up, but she's played with him a couple times outside, knocked him over like real hard, like chucked him. And so he's been a little timid to play with her ever since then. But I guarantee in like a couple weeks they're gonna be just fine. She's just more of a diva, and I think she's like, I am the diva of the house. Who is this other beautiful creature? Yeah. And it's kind of their personality too. But yeah, so everyone's doing great. And, you know, the cats are fine with him and actually like letting him get in their business, except for Luna, because she is just
She's so damn cute.
The traditional kind of cat that wants everyone to fuck off.
Yeah.
But everyone's doing great. He's like crate trained. He loves being in there. We put him in there at night. Eventually we'll let him like sleep out, but just right now I don't want him destroying anything. And has only had like a couple accidents inside too, and it was the first night, I think, just from the smells and excitement. So he's like perfect.
Wow, lucky you.
I know. I don't know how. I mean, right now he's like trying to eat our mics and stuff, but you know, that's just puppy behavior.
He's being
being so good. We just sat with Monica for 2 hours and he almost completely laid here and slept the whole time. So
yeah, I feel so lucky to like be making all these new instant like friendships with each other's people. It's just like
me too.
So quick, and she's like, I don't know you, but I love you. And I'm like, I love you too.
Well, and she's one of our avid listeners. Like, I don't think she's 100% caught up, but she's always like 1 or 2 behind, and just always gives me like such sweet feedback on what we're doing and how it's inspiring her. And ultimately, I think that's but yeah, she like, I'm sure because she does listen, like there's a part of her feels like she knows you a little bit. Yeah. And
all right, moving one more time. Okay.
You know, she sends me a lot of sweet messages that you've been around to like hear or see. So I feel like you have kind of a feel for her heart also. And now you got to just like listen to her story and who she is. And
I just like, I don't know. I learned so much from every single person and feel like so much growth has been happening. And I mean, I don't feel like that this week, but like in general.
Totally. It just like feeds your soul too, just to be able to connect with somebody. And
I feel so much better now. Like, woke up at 5 a.m. crying and then like cried on the way here. And then they forgot my burrito and I cried. And well, it was my fault. But now I feel like I'm not gonna cry, so that's good.
A little life force put back.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know what's going on. I think a lot of people are feeling heavy around this time. It's like the holidays are a lot. They can be kind of a sad reminder for some people that either didn't have like a good experience growing up or have lost people they love or anything like that. And then just like it got so cold so fast.
Oh yeah.
And my skin hurts. Yeah. And I just maybe was doing too much at once and like started kind of dissociating and then ended up spiraling. And I'm like catching my brain saying stuff and I'm like, bitch, what? That was so rude. Like, no, we're not doing that.
Well, and I'm sure it's parts of like this someone old version of you too, and like as crappy as it feels right now and it's very real right now, it is part of you, like of that growth and those old parts of you coming in to try to sabotage or
is this my dark night of the soul?
Totally. One of many, I'm sure. Yeah. But there is a light and you will be okay. And you just got to keep pushing and working on yourself and resting and doing things that feel good for you and relieving any pressure that's coming externally and internal pressure too, you know. Like, especially at this time of year, there is a lot of pressure for a lot of people.
Yeah, and I was just talking to Jess, and she was saying, like, this is the time that we're all supposed to be, you know, kind of hibernating and, like, nesting and stuff, but then society puts all this pressure on us to, like, do, and it's just not really natural.
Exactly.
And I'm like, yeah, I feel that. Also, I'm just thinking back, and I'm like, I think I'm noticing a pattern that this has happened the last almost as many years as I can remember, around like early mid-December. And so maybe knowing that and being aware of that, it's something that in the future I can kind of prepare for.
Totally.
Or like, honestly, I'm thinking next year, like, take off December and
I was just about to say that.
do something, go somewhere. Like, we went to Costa Rica last Christmas, and I think I missed being home for Christmas, but we could go relax before.
And
then
you're not in a cold climate, too.
I'll go to Mexico or something.
Yeah.
I fucking love Mexico. So, yeah, I'm just like, be more mindful of the pattern. And I think also most other years I've maybe blamed how I was feeling on like other people or external things happening, and I don't have anywhere to point my finger this year.
Yeah.
Besides at myself.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that's been almost harder. I mean, it's growth, more though. Real.
Yeah.
But it's like nobody, my circle's tight, my group is solid, like nobody's doing anything besides loving and supporting me. So the only person to look at is myself. And
you have to be gentle on yourself, because it's not just you causing this. Like, you're not causing these feelings necessarily. It is literally imbalances, and you're working on figuring out those balances and like what's affecting your mood and your energy, what is creating toxicity within your own life. And then also like truly like hormones and just, you know, good old depression that likes to creep in. And so remember, if you aren't knowing so already, to be gentle on yourself too, because these feelings come up as like a moment for us to kind of like step back and just really focus on continued healing, continued self-care, because you deserve it too.
Yeah. Well, I'm really excited to share this episode with everybody. It's a little bit different. I think we're just starting to do things a little bit different. I think we're just maybe becoming more of a platform for people to share their stories, because every single human, whether we're, I don't want to say normal, but it's like we're interviewing everyday fucking people that like deserve to have their story told. Like, you don't have to be some anything to deserve to have your story told. I think that this is completely really amazing.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to all the different types of people that we do get to connect with and the stories that we get to hear, because ultimately they're impacting our own personal lives and growth spiritually and humanly. And
it's almost becoming the human experience podcast. Totally. Tell us how the fuck you're human and why that affects you.
That's also what being a witch is to me though too. So I think like we just get to connect with some really incredible people and people that we really care about personally, as well as other people that we get to grow a deeper care for.
Yeah. I was with Allison this weekend, and we were with a friend of hers that she met and like very quickly became close to. I would say it's like similar to how our relationship is. And she was saying that she's sent her story into multiple podcasts, and I was like, ma'am, I have a storytelling podcast. I'm like, this is it. I'm like, the stars are aligning for you, sis.
Yeah.
Right here. Let's go.
And here you are.
Whenever you're comfortable.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, look, I have a podcast. Let's do it.
It's going to be great. And this episode is just really special. Monica is literally one of my best friends ever. We've literally grown up together. Even through all the moving around and everything, like she's somebody that I have constantly kept in contact with. Even if like a year went by, like she's a person we show up and we just pick right up where we left off. She has been through so much and has grown so much, and like we literally barely scratched the surface here. But she is just like, I love her so much because she's just like a radiant being, a radiant soul in my personal space, and always someone I know I can count on to like share love with. Like, I love her so hard and she loves me so hard, and like always going to be a cheerleader for me and me for her. And I just think there's something so special about her.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't even like, it's not even like tangible. She just is such a light in this world, and I'm so blessed to be able to like continue to grow with her. And I'm just so grateful that we got to talk with her here on this platform and that you got to share in her energy, because she's just lovely.
Very lovely.
So I hope that you enjoy listening to this episode and just connecting deeper with another beautiful being.
Enjoy.
So everybody, if you feel called to, go ahead and close your eyes at this time. And we're going to start this episode by connecting to our breath. So go ahead and take a big cleansing breath in and release. Breathe in again and release. And this last one, breathe in all the love from the universe, from your guides, and from your higher self. Breathing in and release all the bullshit, all the negativity, self-doubt, and all the things that aren't serving you anymore. I'd like to call in our higher selves, our guides and ancestors to be here with us today. Thank you for another opportunity to connect with another special, amazing human in our lives. An opportunity to connect more deeply and find ourselves in someone else's story. Thank you for leading us here today, keeping us safe and protected and guided so that we can connect. Our intention is to just be open today and vulnerable. Please allow for the messages to come through that are for the highest good and highest light for all involved across all timelines and dimensions. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I am so excited. Like, I kind of want to cry a little bit. We today are delighted to have literally one of my closest, bestest, longest friends, Monica Martinez. She's an angel on earth. I've known her since we were like in 6th grade, I think. End of 6th grade, beginning of 7th grade. We've tried to kind of figure that out, but we have remained kindred souls, kindred spirits. so connected deeply together and have just journeyed so much through life together and continue to remain important people in each other's lives. So I'm just so happy to have you. Welcome,
Hi,
Monica.
Monica.
Thank you. I love you, Amber and Taylor. I
I love you.
I love you already. I listen to all the podcasts, so I'm
Yes,
like,
same.
I already we're besties too. So thank
Yes,
you for
I'm
having
so
me though.
delighted to hang today.
Me
Thank
too.
you for joining us.
Yes. So Monica is a realtor in New Mexico. She's an amazing spirit, a birder, an animal lover, and a mother.
A birder.
And she loves.
Bird
Is
lover.
that what you call it? A birder?
Oh,
Would you say that's a proper name for someone who's so knowledgeable and obsessed with our flying friends?
yeah. I think that's a great. I mean, that term resonates with me. It's something I definitely I'm avid about. But generally, I mean, I think it can be a pretty broad category. So I think even if you just I think a lot of probably majority of people might be more like a retired community that like happens to feed their birds in the backyard and they like kind of take note of what birds come to visit them. So, I mean, I don't think it takes a lot to be a birder, but I just happen to be very enthusiastic about it. So that maybe.
Do you have a
Oh
bird?
no, no, no birds.
That's what
The
I'm
birds of
trying.
the world are her friends.
Yeah.
She's like a real life Disney princess.
I want a
Oh,
bird in my house.
I love it.
There was a lady at the brewery this weekend that had a bird on a leash on her shoulder and was like
Wow.
squawking at children because we were
Wow.
there to see Santa.
Oh my
It
goodness.
was cute.
That yeah.
So you're not that kind of
I'm
birder.
not. I'm not that's a very different. Yeah,
Commitment.
it is. It's a commitment. They live for a very long time. And
They
Oh,
do.
yeah,
yeah.
I enjoy like going out. It's like a good reason for me to like go out in nature and just kind of remind myself to pause and be open to what presents itself to me because I do for me
Hmm.
it's like a beautiful gift from nature, but also kind of this like what sort of message is there? Like, why am I seeing this bird at this time? Or
Mm-hmm.
even just like, I'll broaden that to that for me applies to any sort of creature that I encounter, from
Yeah.
like
Mm-hmm.
insect to mammal, really, whatever is out there that I'm seeing, I'm trying to find some significance in that.
I love that so
But
much.
yeah,
I love so much, like, you're someone I can go to and like the names of all the birds. Like you just know, and I'm just curious, like what got you like really like when did you start getting curious about birds and animals and learning their messages and connecting with like the spirit of the animals? What got you into that, and what do you use to like learn more?
yeah. It- so funny enough, I actually used to be really afraid of birds, especially large birds. I remember, I know, at the zoo,
I think I kind of remember that now that you say that.
yeah, they had the raptor roost, and it would frighten me. I would be so terrified, and so I would try to avoid visiting the section with the large birds. And so it kind of all happened in like a really strange way. Maybe it's not strange, but it wasn't like something that I've always been passionate about. Um, for like, I definitely have always been drawn to animals, but also like I, I don't know how to explain it. Like I never had a dog growing up. I actually also used to be kind of afraid of dogs when I was little. I was just like
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't around them enough to like understand them very well.
Hmm.
So I will say, I mean, I'm a cat person. I'm an animal person in
Mm-hmm.
general is what
Same.
I say now. But like I would say where things started to shift for me was in high school. We had to read The Jungle by Upton Sinclair. And basically, if you haven't read it, it is I want to say like maybe in the early 1900s or Great Depression. I don't remember. I don't remember all the details, but what I do remember is it's a very descriptive um, depiction of working in a slaughterhouse. And I was like,
Wow.
oh, that's what I'm eating. And it just like something just instantly clicked in me where I had never really thought about what I was consuming. And I was so like, I just from that moment
Mhm.
on, I was like this little 16-year-old. I was like, I am not eating meat again. And of course,
Are
like,
you still
so
vegetarian?
I'm not, but it's, you know what? It's really interesting, Taylor, because it's something that's like keeps presenting itself to me again. And so I keep like reflecting back on that because
Mm.
I'm like, that was something that I was so strong in my convictions about. And that was so unusual for
Mhm.
me, slash is unusual for me because, as you'll maybe get to know a little better, Amber, I know you already know a lot of this about me, but I struggle in having a voice. And so feeling
Mhm.
like I constantly kind of just like, let me just go with the crowd or whatever. And this was something that I actually was like,
Mhm.
this was my decision. And I was vegetarian for 12 and a half years, vegan for a lot of that time too.
Mhm.
And this was like, in the late 90s, early 2000s when I started. And my parents, like, I think they were like, okay, yeah, that's cool if you want to, like, you need to do your grocery shopping and stuff. Like, we're not going to like cater to
Mhm.
you. So I was trying to like,
Don't know how to do that for you.
right, no, no. And I think they just figured it was going to be some weird, teenage phase.
Mhm.
But
Totally.
it,
It's not a phase, Mom.
right, I know. I was like, it made me want to do even more. No, but really, it was just like, it just clicked. It was just one of those things that just made sense to me. And, um, when I look back, I mean, there were a lot of different reasons that ultimately, like, that kept fueling it. That was just like, oh, I'm going to do it for like environmental reasons. Um, but it really kind of made me want to feel more connected to animals and how to like be more of an advocate for them. And so I wanted to find different ways to be, like doing like animal rescue and stuff like that. So of course, like I was like very like interested in PETA and things like that. But I started volunteering at a wildlife rescue down in the North Valley of Albuquerque. And most of the animals that came in were birds. And most of the ones that I
Hmm.
handled were like what are technically called rock doves, what we know as pigeons, a lot of sparrows and things like that. But occasionally, so a lot, yeah, most of the birds I handled were
Hmm.
pigeons, sparrows, but occasionally we would get in, sometimes actually even hummingbirds, but like great horned owls, roadrunners. We got just, I mean, there were a lot of different. It was mainly birds, but they would bring in, So let's just say somebody found an injured skunk or
Mm-hmm.
something. You'd bring them in there, depending on what type of care they needed. Sometimes we'd have to get like a wildlife rescue facilitator in to help. But I really just started like being up close with an animal that's so powerful and also so vulnerable just really started to like help
Mm.
me release the fear that I had carried and was like, why have I been afraid of these animals? But really, it was just
Mm.
like also this like crazy magical experience because like looking into these eyes of these animals that I'm like, that I am so blessed to be there like caring for them, it just like became this instant like I wanted to like know more and do more and understand more. And around that same time too, I was just kind of, I guess, being more open on my spiritual journey. And so I think was just feeling that there was a lot of significance in my work with the
Mm-hmm.
animals, specifically the birds. And so I also love to thrift and antique shop and all of that. So
Mhm.
I love to collect vintage bird books. So and I also
Oh.
just love to like be out in nature. So I was constantly out on little hikes by myself and just always like wanting to know more. So, I'd have my little bird books with me on my hikes and I'd be like, oh my gosh, there's a new bird. And I'd have my binoculars or whatever. So I could like, or I would like take down little notes to be like, what, that was an interesting marking on them. So then I could look it up later. And Amber, your compliment was so nice that you like can name every bird, because I totally do not feel like I can. I don't even feel close to being an expert, but I appreciate you saying that, because I'm like, oh, well,
You know way more than like the average person. And if ever I'm like having trouble distinguishing, because we have like this beautiful love for the birds and the animals and their messaging. And like we always go like text each other when we see a certain animal. But sometimes it's hard to distinguish, for instance, like a hawk from a turkey vulture, and you are like, or if I sent, like the other day I sent you a picture like, oh, these beautiful cute little birds with little speckles on them, and you're like, oh, it's the blah blah blah. You probably remember. I don't.
The European starling. Like, yep.
Exactly. I was like, how do you just know that? It's so amazing. I can always count on you to identify like the magical, beautiful creatures that make themselves present to me.
I appreciate that. It's really beautiful. I feel like it's truly a gift anytime they cross my path, and so I know you have that same appreciation. And
Totally.
so what really was like a really cool tool that helped me, I don't remember the age. I want to say, I mean, I was definitely in my early 20s, but I had gone into this amazing metaphysical shop that does, unfortunately, it no longer exists. It was in kind of like downtown Albuquerque, called Crystal Dove. And I had gone in for,
I remember
yeah,
that
I
spot.
thought you would remember. I went in for my very first tarot reading, and it was really interesting because what I took from it was like there just a lot of stuff about animals came up, and basically, yeah, he was like, the guy giving me my reading was like, you need to like do something with animals, and he had recommended, he's like, you need to get Animal Speak, because you have a connection with animals, like you could be learning a lot more, like going onto this deeper level. And so they had that book for sale. So it's a book by Ted Andrews. And so that was my first encounter with Animal Speak, which is basically like, I mean, Amber, and I don't know if I'm going to describe it that well, but like a dictionary for like, okay, if this sort of animal comes across your path, and one of like the main section is birds, but obviously too, there's mammals, reptiles, insects. It covers a pretty wide range, and then also like, how many were there, what direction did they cross your path, which, to be honest, I don't always like delve that deeply into. But I love to learn. It kind of gives you a lot of the history too, or like folklore, which is just so fascinating to me, of like how people of the past would have these stories around certain animals and what it was that they brought. And so to me, it just really rang true. So that is, to me, like my Bible. I love it. I can't live without Animal Speak.
Yeah, that's what I call it too. It's totally one of my spiritual Bibles, and has been for like at least, gosh, almost 15 years, maybe 12 years or something.
Yeah.
And I think my introduction to it was because of that experience that you had, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is the best book ever. And yeah, Ted Andrews just has such a way of describing things, and I love the whole like front part of that book too, is really talking about using them as a spiritual reference, and how to do that, how to meditate on that, and how, it's not just in the physical realm that they come and present themselves to you, but even in dream state or meditation, there's medicine in their showing up in your world. And I just love it so much.
Yeah. On my birthday, we went into a metaphysical shop in St. Louis with my bestie, Nicole, and she was like, I just really want to get this book. And then we went home and we went back for something. She's like, I'm just going to get it. Yeah, I was just feeling like really drawn to it. And I was like, I texted you because like, I'm pretty sure I've seen this in your house.
That's amazing. Wow. I love that story. Yeah. It's a very powerful
It's a book I've like gifted to so many people, like my own personal copy. Like if someone gets kind of nerdy with it in a conversation with me, I'm like, okay, here, just have it, I'll find another copy.
Ooh,
I think I've done that like 3 times.
Oh my gosh, amazing.
It just is one of those books for me personally.
Yeah.
Monica, do you want to start by like telling us a little bit about yourself and how you grew up and became kind of this spiritual animal whisperer type person.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, like I said, I mean, I definitely was not. I was afraid of birds and dogs and such, which now looking back is like hilarious. Because I seriously do not ever like. I can't pass a dog and not be like, "Oh my God, that is the cutest animal ever." I am obsessed, and
Mhm.
but yeah, I really was not raised around a lot of animals. I also was not raised around a lot of like religion. Both my parents were,
Mm.
they were both Catholic. They were both raised Catholic, but both had basically stopped practicing. My dad was an atheist, and so
Mm.
I don't know when it was that he, probably like late teens, early 20s. My mom is still like I would say like she's spiritual and she will still like do her little like rosary prayers or whatever they are, and like she has like
Mhm.
santuarios and stuff like around her house. Because so for us too, like growing up in New Mexico, um we were more like there was a lot of like the Irish Catholic influence in my family, but also like northern New Mexican, which
Mhm.
is just a thing
Mhm.
of its own. And so a lot of traditions that go along with that, and a lot of really beautiful like cultural, like I appreciate the art and everything like that. But
Mhm.
I remember actually going to Catholic church a lot when I was young because my cousin was Catholic and was in catechism, and I would go to class with her and stuff. So I remember learning a lot about it. And so I've always kind of wanted to like learn more and know more about different religions. I did have a stint in like middle school, high school. Yeah, I think around the time that I was like getting to be besties with you, Amber, I
Mhm.
became like a pretty devout Christian. Like, I was a self-proclaimed Jesus
Saved.
freak. Yep. It all started because I was like hearing everybody talk about their youth group experiences, and I was like, I want to go have
Mhm.
fun. And then I
Yep.
was like, this is cool. Like, I want to do this. I want to accept Jesus into my heart. And like, yeah, I took it really seriously. And I even went on like a couple mission trips to Mexico and had a really profound experience in Mexico. It was the second summer I had gone. I was like having all these visions and just like it was really powerful. And I was just like pretty swept away by the whole experience. Like I felt it like deep in my core. And I remember
Mm.
coming back and I was like, I wanted to share about it in my youth group. And I ended up getting the worst case of strep throat. So bad. I'm allergic to penicillin. So when I get strep
Cool.
throat, it's bad. But this one was like I was like hospitalized. It was so like I had, you know how you get like pus pockets in your throat? Like it was on my tongue, on the roof of
Mhm.
my mouth. Like I couldn't eat anything or drink anything.
Mm.
Like I was just in excruciating pain, 105-degree fever. And I was so upset. I was like, well, if God wanted me to like share this message, I would have like not gotten strep throat. And I don't know, I
Mhm.
really just like,
Chills.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It was kind of this like, I started to just see things in a very different way and realize that like I I was very different in a sense. Like I started to see a lot more of the Christians like true colors. And I was like, yeah, this is not like,
Mm.
I was like, no, it's not just all about like there was a lot of stuff I just wasn't agreeing with that I was seeing that they were doing. Like they just were always raising money, but then they just like want to get like a cool like a skate park or like a light up marquee. And I was like, wait, what? What are we doing here? Like, and like I also was like,
Attracting the
well,
youngins.
yeah. And then no, and then Amber, what was like
Like
so messed
mega
up?
church vibes.
Totally. Oh,
Yeah.
it totally was
I
Taylor.
went with you a couple times to
Yeah.
the Calvary youth
Mm-hmm.
group, and I was like, I remember being like, these are my friends and like I want to do this.
Yep.
And my mom's like, these 28-year-olds are not your friends. Like
No.
this is a cult.
No,
You're not
it's
allowed to go
true.
anymore.
It's true. No, and then also like they were very sexually active, and then they would just be like, "Well, I prayed for my sins, so I'm a reborn again virgin." And I was like, "Yo, that is
Yeah.
not the way that works." Like,
My hymen grew back.
I was just like, I just was like, "Yeah, this is not, no, mm-mm,
You're not practicing what you preach.
right." And so, I went on to like study other religions, and like I don't want to say like I've studied any very like deeply, but I've always been very intrigued. But I mean, it's more so like for me, like I don't agree with the institutionalism of it. Like for me, I'm a very spiritual
Mm-hmm.
person, but I was like it just didn't align with me. And the closest, like Buddhism was very interesting to me, but what the closest place that I've found where I feel like is more like home is a place here called Center for Spiritual Living, and it basically just entangles,
Mm.
I think there's like 7 different religions, but basically a lot of it like it's like goes on like metaphysical levels. Like I was just like, okay, this makes more sense, like let's just cover all the bases, from like
Mm-hmm.
Hinduism, Buddhism, Judaism, yeah, see, I don't even remember all the others, but basically, just like being very open and broad, and it's a really beautiful place to go if you feel like you need, like the
A
building,
place
the
to
place.
congregate
Yeah,
Connect.
and
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
exactly, yeah. But otherwise, I was like, yeah, this is
Is
not for
that
me.
is
Yeah.
that a place in New Mexico that you go to?
Yeah, it's in Albuquerque, and I don't, that's a good question. I don't know if they have them anywhere else. Um, yeah, I don't.
Is it very like open? Like there's not a bunch of like different rules and restrictions and like things you follow. It's just like come here to,
Yeah.
I don't know, connect and center with other people.
Yeah, so I mean, again, and it's nowhere that I've like practiced on a regular basis, but like occasionally I would go and attend, like whenever I was feeling drawn. But it's very welcoming. It's basically like, yeah, anyone is welcome, and they usually like they will have services, so they will have somebody speaking, and they do songs and things like that. But it's more again
Cool.
based on like spiritual or metaphysical levels, or just how to maybe integrate how different religions like weave into each other. So it's
Love
pretty,
that.
yeah, it's
Mhm.
pretty inclusive, which is really nice. It's not like this is the only way. It's kind of like here's just
Yeah.
like here's what we can do to like lift up ourselves, like let go of things that don't align. And so it's that part to me is really beautiful.
Yeah, I love that. I think a lot of the like, I don't know what I'm trying to say here, chaos and confusion is the restrictiveness of
Mm-hmm.
certain things, and then thinking that my way is the only way
Yes.
instead
Mm-hmm.
Right.
of being like, oh, we all have this similar foundation. Why don't we work together and figure this out?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, absolutely. That was another part that really bothered me about Christianity was that whole like this mentality of, where I started to be like, well, why isn't it okay that somebody else practices Judaism and somebody else practices
Mm-hmm.
Rastafarianism? Like, I don't understand why I'm saying I'm right and you're not. Like that felt just very icky to me. And I was like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's not, I don't buy that. Um,
I think of like Jess when Jess Funk was talking about the pyramid, and she's like, there's God on top, and then
Mm-hmm.
as it goes down, and on each side is just like
All the
all these
different belief
different, yeah,
systems.
and it's just we're all trying to get to the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's just, yeah, the pyramid. I loved that. I
Yeah, the
think about it a
spiritual
lot.
pyramid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
mhm.
I loved that too.
Yeah.
So how old were you, do you think, when you started to kind of feel that way, and how did you change like your spirituality?
Well, I think I was about 16, maybe 17 when that whole, like when the summer of strep happened. And I was just like, more and more things kept happening that I was like, this is not what I am agreeing to. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think I already was just kind of starting to like doubt it or question it. And it wasn't anything that I was necessarily seeking, but just like so many things just kind of kept presenting themselves to me. Um, just different people I would meet. Because now looking back, I'm like, oh yeah, I was introduced to all these amazing concepts. I think when I was about, gosh, I was probably about 19, and there was this amazing man who worked. I was working at the mall, and he was working at a kiosk in the mall. But he kept coming up to me, and he would always be trying to like engage me in conversation. And he was so powerful, and I could feel it. And he was like, he had a so not only like having a gift shop in the mall, it was his parents, but he worked at the kiosk. And I mean, he was, probably in his 30s or something at the time. And he also owned this uh, facility where he practiced. He was a sifu, a teacher. He did qigong, but he also would do some sort of like
Mm.
I don't know what kind of martial arts exactly, but he was just like just stuff he would share with me was so interesting because he'd be like, watch, things are going to happen. Like, I'm trying, like, he would try to have these like open conversations with me about energy and about yin and yang. And we were always getting interrupted. And it was so interesting to me because he could like call it, he could see these things that were going on. And I was like, this man knows something. I like believe him. I need to like go and experience this. And that was like one of the most powerful
Mm.
moving things for me, was qigong. And I loved that. I can't remember now who was on the show that was sharing about it. I think it might have been,
Holly.
yeah. And I was like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, yeah, I love qigong. And I don't really know many other people who've done it, but it was so great because like, yeah, he talked about the history and how like this was something like Chinese warriors would do this before going into battle. But
Mm.
he would also like offer. We did a lot of meditation, and just he was just such an amazing soul that like even though I'm still interested in doing more qigong, I'm like I don't know. He was just like the guy. Like I tried watching videos of people
Mhm.
doing it, and I'm just like, nope, pass. Mm-mm. Like I'm not feeling it. I'm not vibing it.
I understand
Yeah,
that.
yeah. There's yeah. It has to like align, and it hasn't. But that's something that's really stuck with me for a long time, and he taught me a lot about Buddhism, and just it really was very impactful. And but also like you have to understand too. I mean, I was very much struggling with my identity. I'm
Mhm.
queer, and so I think being queer has also
Mm.
really it's challenged me or pushed me in a way because again I've struggled to feel like um, I've struggled with my authenticity. And so in that case though it's almost like I've had to really question like, well, I don't really know where I fit in. But even around that same time, like
Mhm.
being this like 19-year-old, I was also very easily pressured or persuaded to like go out with friends and go dancing and go
Mhm.
drinking and da da da. And like at the same time, I was also very much like I knew there was something more and deeper. And so I would find these really profound practices and things that I would get really into. So I feel like I've done a lot. Like I have studied a lot of Ayurveda too. In fact, there it was it Holly? Is she the one who does the Ayurveda as well?
Adrian talked about
Adrian. Okay,
Ayurveda.
that's who it was.
Mhm.
So Adrian was
Mhm.
mentioning Dr.
Okay,
Vasant
yeah.
Lad, and
Mhm.
he actually has a facility here in Albuquerque, and so it's called the Ayurvedic
Oh,
Institute.
wow.
So he lives here part time. He travels between India and Albuquerque. So there's a very huge, like a very large school, a very big following for Ayurveda here in Albuquerque.
How
And
cool.
so
I
like
never knew that.
yeah, yeah, it's really amazing. And so but I loved just like getting like reminded of all these things. That's why I love this podcast so much because I'm just like, oh my God, that's right. Like, yes, I believe in that. Like, that really resonated with me. That was something really amazing. Yeah, it was just a really beautiful reminder to like hear all these different like healing modalities and just different ways
Mhm.
people have found their own. And I'm like, hey, it's okay that maybe like I didn't end up becoming like like a healer in a certain way, but like I definitely believe in so much of that. And like I owe so much of a lot of what y'all have already shared about on the podcast previously. I'm like, oh yeah, I've found that. And so it just constantly, I feel like on my path in life, I've found these different modalities that have just kept me very open and like made me constantly question that, like, well, where do I belong? Like, I don't feel like I fit in just with this like mundane, we're just going through the motions. It's like there is something more, there is something
Mhm.
deeper. And I've I have fallen victim into like kind of just getting caught up into that because sometimes it is so much, it's so powerful. It's a lot to like, it's a lot of responsibility to handle
Yeah.
being open and being
Mhm.
spiritual. And it isn't until recently that I've been like, nope, I am doing this. I am owning this. Like I've felt this connection for long enough. Like I am going all in.
I love that. And I'm so happy to hear that for you because I think it is such an important part of, like, I feel it in your soul, if that makes sense. Like, I know like what a spiritual being you are, and just like in our friendship and the way we've evolved spiritually together, like you are somebody. I've told Taylor this, like, you are a friend who knows me deep in my soul. Like, you know who I am, like, past the surface, past this human existence.
Mhm.
And I feel like oh no, Tofu, don't do that. He's trying to eat the
Trying to
table.
eat the table.
I feel like I know you on a deeper level, um that is past this human existence too. Like our souls are just so tapped into one another. And
Mhm.
um I'm just so grateful that you are kind of discovering and rediscovering these special practices or ideals that are important to you, or that are inspiring you to kind of like create what is your special brand of spirituality.
I,
um
if you're comfortable, would love to talk a little bit about like navigating being queer and like how that affected your spirituality, and like when you came to terms with that, like if you've always known, or like when you were honest with yourself and told people, just all of that.
Yeah, yeah, I appreciate that. Yes, it gosh, well, here's the funny thing. I feel like I am just as good as at deceiving myself as I am of others, being a people pleaser.
mm-hmm.
So even though like in some ways I knew, in a lot of ways I had no freaking clue. Like I thought I was just, and
Yeah.
it's true, I was so boy crazy. Like you know,
It's so boy
so
crazy.
boy crazy. So when I had my first
I think
like
you can be both.
crush on somebody who was not a boy, I was like, well, wait, I don't understand. Like, but it was so deep in my being that I was like, nothing else
Mm-hmm.
matters. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, and so, but that there, it was still
Was it a person or a celebrity crush, your
oh
first
no,
girl
it was a
crush?
real person. It was a real person. That's why I was
Nice.
like, like, it wasn't just like, oh, yeah, they're attractive. It was like, my soul was like, ba boom, ba bam. Like, this
Bum
was my
bum
first time being
bum
in
bum
love.
How
bum
Like,
old
bum.
were you?
I was 18.
Okay.
So it really was, it, it was, it pushed me out of so many, out of all my comfort zones, really. But it's something that like I still struggle with because even though I identify as queer, like I often, I guess apparently, like I look very straight, and so like I think it's just this like,
Mm.
then I struggle with like, you know, I guess I'm very like femme presenting, even though like part of the time I'm like,
Yeah.
that's not true. I don't like, I hardly ever wear makeup, but a lot of times, yeah, like people just make that assumption that like, oh, your husband or whatever. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Like, I don't, and like, this is where I still struggle. Is I'm like, I don't want to have to explain to anybody. Like, But ultimately, like when it
Mm-hmm.
comes deep down to it, which is a lot of the work I've been doing, is to understand that, like, oh no, I've been protecting other people because I think that it's going to create some sort of
Mhm.
discomfort in them. So I've been stuffing it
Mm,
for most of my life, um, to
totally.
just be kind of like, oh, I'll just be what you like, or I'll let you
Just
think that I
exist.
am whatever it is that you want. Right, exactly. I'm gonna exist however, like in your mind, however you think I should. And that's where, like, in this healing work I've been doing, it has been a lot of shadow work, and like it's it's been a lot of like coming to terms with like, no, no, this is authentically me, and like that I can't like be worried about what somebody else, like how somebody else feels or reacts around me.
Mhm.
And that it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of that same way. It's also really helped me recently in my it's honestly helped me more in my like spirituality journey recently, because I'm like, oh no, I am going to be that bad bitch goddess, like witchy woman that I know I am, and
Mhm.
I am going to stop
Yes.
hiding her. Like, no, 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 no. Like, I don't like this
The
poor,
world
like,
needs her.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. That is what I've
Mm,
just like, so like I really do call this year as my waking up year. And so it's
mm,
like I've known it all along. So that's more where like I feel like more like this is my like I've just had to like constantly be coming out, whether it's like I'm coming out as queer, I'm coming out like but it's just it's kind of like I do feel like it kind of it's just like inevitable, because it's like I've had to learn to like push out of my discomforts, because I mean I'm 36 years old, and I'm like I'm
Mhm.
done. I'm tired of like presenting a certain way for what I think the world wants me to be. I'm tired. I'm so exhausted.
Yeah.
I'm also a mom, and that's also been really helpful, like to honestly to be like, wow, I want to be like as most authentically myself for my children,
Mhm.
because like I want to gift them with that. I want them to know that like I want them to be their own
mm,
beautiful magical selves, whatever it is like that they are,
Mhm.
they feel like I want to empower them and let them know that they're okay and they're safe. And so it's been a lot of work on my inner child to be like, yo, you are safe, like you are loved, like go and just like go take over the world. Like you're great, you're amazing. And so they have been such a beautiful, important lesson to me as well, to be like, I I, I don't need to hide. I don't need to hide who I am.
mm,
And it I've struggled with, feeling small and like and having a voice. And it's so ironic because in this journey of my life, it's like, I could have been just given like I could have been, you know, a white straight Christian or whatever, and like great, things are easy. Not
Mhm.
to say that it is easy for anyone, but like I wasn't given that,
privilege.
right. I've
Mhm.
had
Mm-hmm.
to be like, but also part of me staying small has been a privilege, because I haven't had to like do the hard work to be like, no, this is me, take it or leave it. And it's okay if you don't want to like,
Mm-hmm.
if you don't agree with that. And that's been like honestly too, like in the work I do now too, being a realtor, like there's I feel like a very I am absolutely aware that I am not like your very typical realtor, but like it's also been a really beautiful
Mhm.
experience, because I'm like, I know I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but I do know that like those people who are like me or that just like resonate, they're going to be so happy that I'm in
Mhm.
the field that I'm in, because I am going to be able to help guide them and make them
Exactly.
feel safe in a
Yep.
very like high pressured, really big decision. And I want them to feel
Yep.
like there is somebody on their side that they can trust, and that like sees them and hears them. And because that's something that I feel like I haven't gotten in a lot of my life. And so
Mhm.
it's this reminder, and again like always looking back to my kids, where I'm like, well, if they see me like accepting myself for who I am, there I hope that that's like that gift to them, that they're going to feel empowered and they're going to feel safe as well, and whatever journey that is. And maybe it's gonna be pretty easy for them, but also like it might be hard. I don't know, but I hope they feel safe, and I hope they feel um, just like confident in themselves that they can do whatever it is that they set out to do on this wild ride.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Do you have children with a man
Mm-mm.
or
No,
a
so
female partner?
yeah, well, another like whole reason, like, so I was married. I'm like, where do I begin here, Amber? Uh, let my awkwardness
Like,
roll in.
I
Cracking
don't
I'm
know
you
like,
nothing. Tell me
open.
yeah, I
everything.
will tell you everything.
I
So-
I do want to pause for a moment
yeah.
before we go down that road because I just like I'm sitting here like joyfully crying these
Oh.
beautiful tears because you are just like you're such an inspiration to me. You're one of the most amazing, beautiful souls I've ever known in my entire life. And it's so interesting to hear you too like speak about struggling with authenticity and like
Mm-hmm.
to hear that come from you. Like I've heard you say this before, but like as you're saying this I'm like reflecting back on like you were the cool weirdo in middle school, like fucking like like awesome eyeliner and just funky and cool and different. Like you were so different than
Yeah.
anyone. And I think that's part of why I was like so attracted to you as a
Hmm.
friend, where I was like, I need to know who this cool weirdo is,
Oh,
like fucking like bracelets up to your elbows
God,
that you
right.
like never
Right.
took off and like
Oh,
like all the cool funky jewelry and just so like hot topic. And,
oh yeah.
like
Oh yeah.
you and my mom still to this day like
Oh,
knows you with your kiss
yeah.
boots and like asking if you still have them.
I
Like
wish. I wish. Oh my God, there's so much stuff I wish. I mean, I wouldn't fit into it, but
right.
actually, I did. I have like two shirts I think that I kept from middle school.
I love
That were
it.
just amazing. And yeah, I like look back and I'm like, oh my God, my style, my no, I appreciate you saying that though,
You're just
Amber. Like,
so wild. Like you to me represent authenticity of like some like, and I'm sure like it's been a journey and it's gone up and
yeah.
down and like through all of your trials and tribulations and growing up like literally like it's in middle school and high school and in your 20s, like it takes bravery to be a little different and like tried. And I think that like you've always been trying to be authentic in
Hmm.
yourself and just rediscovering who that is. And of course, like realizing like, oh, I'm attracted to all people.
Hmm.
That's like a whole nother identity, and then you have to like fit into that box. Like, am I a lesbian? Am I straight? Am I bi? I don't know. And now you have to like be in, yeah, like in that box. And so it's like
Yes.
I can totally see how you have those struggles where you're like, I want to be authentic, but like I hope too that you can see that I could reflect back to you that like you are one of the most beautiful authentic people I've ever been able to witness in my entire life. And I have absolutely adored watching you transition and go through all the different phases of Monica and continuing to grow deeper into like this new person. Like I was watching your fucking video today and your stories, and you're like, was it today or yesterday?
It was
And you're like,
yesterday. Yeah.
you're breaking out your beautiful silver earrings, and you're like, I'm gonna be a goddess. And I was just like, this woman makes me
Yeah.
so happy seeing her claim herself and her identity, and just like really truly rebirthing right now in front of my eyes. And so I just
Yeah.
wanted to share that with you before going forward, but that
Mm.
also like leads right into where we are going
Yeah.
and your life as it is now and how this past year has been for you. You're
Okay.
just a shining bright star.
Right. Wow. Well,
Mhm.
okay, I'll pack that in as like, in a nutshell as possible. No.
We
So
got like an hour.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
spill the
As long as you're
beans.
good still, we got some time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's right. It's part of my story, and you
Mhm.
know, so it's again like um, so I had I came out as queer. I came out as bisexual actually when I was 18. When I was with and I so not only fell in love, but I was like actually dated this person, but it was still like very confused, and I was like, I'm bisexual. And I remember the time like being
Do
like,
you still identify as bisexual?
So no,
Or
I identify as pansexual actually. And
okay.
that funny enough, I heard it was David on Schitt's Creek, and I was like, what is he talking about? Like, what is
Yes.
pansexual? And I don't know if I
What
ended
is
up looking at.
pansexual?
So basically, pansexual is that like you are potentially like you are attracted to people regardless of their gender, their sex, like their like it
Mhm.
basically no like you don't really so like it could be for me what resonates is that I'm like I could fall in love with somebody who's trans, whether it's like male to
Mhm.
female or female to male, and that's because that's where that resonates more because like for me bisexual is
Mm-hmm.
just like a gender like a
Too
male or
closed
female, and
off.
like for me
Yeah.
pansexual
Mm-hmm.
felt like that finally I was like, oh, that fits, oh my god, like the only other word that has really felt like it
I
fits
love
is
that.
queer. Like that one has
Yeah.
always
Mm-hmm.
felt very much like
Broad.
yeah, yeah, and just like that's me. I'm queer, but like
You love the soul.
Yeah,
I
I think
do.
almost being pansexual is like the most human thing and the most
Yeah,
honest thing
it
because,
Mm-hmm.
in my
is.
opinion, everybody's fucking gay and nobody
Mm-hmm.
wants to admit it. And we all need to just come to
We're
terms with
all
the
a little
fact.
queer.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think most
Yeah.
people probably feel pansexual
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
if they're like deeply, truly honest with
Mm-hmm.
themselves.
Yeah, I
And
hope
if,
so. I think it's
or
a
just me.
really
I don't
yeah. It's just
Taylor's
you.
coming
No.
out today.
Right?
Me and
Going to,
Monica here.
yeah, right. Oh my goodness. But it's I don't know, it just like it, it's hard. It's hard with like labels are hard, and that was like, what I
Mm-hmm.
will say is like at the time that person I was with was like didn't take me as seriously because I wasn't a lesbian. And like and then
Hmm.
so fast forward to when I
Interesting.
did meet, yeah, and then actually I won't skip this part because this is important too. So sandwiched in between that the first person that the first queer person I was in a relationship with, I did date some cis men in sandwiched
Mm.
in there, and like there were a couple of them that like really invalidated my experience, and they were like, "No, you were just friends. You're just confused." And I'm like, I was fucking in love. Like
No.
you do not get to
You
like
were so in love.
right. And I was like,
Oh
"No,
my
you don't get to
gosh.
like tell me what my experience was." So that was also really shitty. So it was just kind of like also them like being like you can't be bi, like you're straight, like you're very much into like
That's
dudes.
another societal thing. Is like,
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
oh, all girls just like make out sometimes
yeah,
and they're just
Mm-hmm.
right,
straight. And it's like,
right.
no.
No,
No, that's
yeah,
not how it works.
exactly. So I just
Also
like,
a sign of the times too, I will say that, I
True.
think.
yeah. Oh, definitely. I think so. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's, and I think the more people are talking about it, the more, hopefully, the more understanding there is and like less
Mm-hmm.
judgment. But like, it, I guess it just went to show that like, I just constantly was feeling like invalidated, where I was like, well,
Mm.
I don't fit in with like for like queer people, I'm not gay enough. And then straight people, I'm like, I'm confused or something. So it was just like this, like,
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
well, what the hell? Like, where do I fit in?
Yeah.
And fast forward, so I did meet my partner, who was a female, and we started dating in 2014, and we ended up getting married in 2016, and we are legally married, and we were talking about the concept of like of starting a family, and like that was something that we both we both did value. We both were very like that was something that was important to us. And so
Hmm.
obviously because yeah we couldn't like actually physically biologically make that happen,
Hmm.
we went through the process of getting a donor, and and so my partner did not want to like did not resonate with that, like was not interested in like bearing children. And like whereas I was, or am was whatever, like I was like, yeah, I feel again like more of that like authentic, like I do feel that in my like womanhood, like it was like I do feel it in
Mm-hmm.
my body that like I want to like give life or whatever that means. Like, so that was a really powerful experience, twice. So I have, I got pregnant in 2017, and so my son was born in February of 2018. So he's about to turn 5. And then my daughter is she'll be 21 months tomorrow, I think. So she's almost 2.
Aww, so cute.
Yeah. Oh my
Same
God.
donor?
No, they are not the same donor. No, funny enough, the donor for my son was like running low on vials, and we tried like we it's like it's like super emotionally exhausting, but like it's also just
Yeah.
like remove any sort of like romantic vibes, because you like for I mean, and you can do,
Gosh,
there's so
yeah,
many
no
different ways to
kidding.
do it. Like everybody, like that's the crazy thing too. I like that's what I love about queers is like you have to like think outside the box. And so there's
Mhm.
so many ways to do it, but like the way we in particular that we went through it, we did not know the donor. We went through like a sperm bank, and so like, and it was in California, so it had to get like shipped in nitrogen, and so then you have to like store it at a cryobank, or for us at a fertility clinic, because there was not a cryobank in Albuquerque. And it's freaking expensive, just to like
Yeah.
ship it and
Mm-hmm.
like store it, and then to actually do the insemination, and to have all these like, you're just constantly getting stuff stuck up in you to like, let's check to see if you're ovulating
Mm-hmm.
and blah blah. Like it was so like,
So
it
terrible.
was fucking terrible, I will say. I
Yeah.
hated it. I hated
Mm-hmm.
every ounce of that
I'm only
part.
laughing because I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Again, yeah. I can understand. It is not like your typical like, yeah, we were just like doing it and got pregnant.
Making
Yeah.
love. Yeah.
Right. So it definitely took a lot more work.
At least in that way, you're like, this is what you want. Like, you've gone
Mm-hmm.
through the steps, you've taken the actions, you're positive that, like, this is something that you want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And you didn't just, like, get knocked up and you're just
right.
figuring it out?
Exactly. I know. Yeah, I remember somebody, like it was a customer too. Was like, "Oh, was that?" They like pointed at my belly when I was pregnant. They're like, "Oh, was that planned?" I'm like, "That is so inappropriate. Like, how dare you ask
Gosh.
somebody that? Because like, what? Like,
Oh my
who?"
God.
Yeah, yeah. I was like,
Also, what do
"Yo,
you think of, I don't know, like, that
I
could be
know,
so many things. That's
I
so
know." It was so
None your
rude.
business.
Exactly.
Actually, I was out working the streets and accidentally got knocked up.
Whoops.
Oops. Don't even know his
Right?
name.
I know. I couldn't believe that. I was like, what? Like, God, people just walk around like
Wow.
unfiltered, which is amazing to me. But
Mm-hmm.
fast forward. So, being a mom, it has taught me a lot, and it has helped me grow a lot. And because so in this last year, in 2022, um, as of like 6 months tomorrow, I made the decision to leave my marriage, because I was in just an extremely unhealthy relationship,
Mhm.
and a lot of it was like my stuff, because it was also just like, bottom line, getting back down to like not being authentically me. So there's
Mm.
so much of this like people pleasing in me that I've tried for so long to like work on and blah blah blah, but like it was kind of one of those like, you have to remove yourself from this situation that was just like, it was getting really toxic, and I was not in a place where I was ever going to grow. And I really
Yeah.
No.
recognized that like I deserve more, I deserve better. I like am not in a place where I can be authentically me, and like
Mhm.
I like I played a big part in that, because I showed up thinking that I could, let's see, like that I could play a role, that I could fix things, because like
Mm.
I am a
Mhm.
very empathetic person. I you know
Yeah.
saw the good in this person, but I really was hopeful that like, I would be a different person in their life. I wouldn't bring a lot of the pain and heartache that they've experienced. Um, but realize like that's not my responsibility. That's not like my
Mhm.
burden
No.
to take on. And Um, I started therapy a few years ago, and I remember a therapist was like, "Oh, well, you're like," we were talking about like I went there like for stress, and a lot of the stress was around people pleasing because I was just like I've been aware of it, right? Like I've known like,
Mhm.
hey, I'm a people pleaser. This is not doing me any good because like ultimately like I'm so stressed out all the time. And I remember her telling me like,
Mhm.
"Well, you're codependent." And I was like, "What?" Like I couldn't
Yep.
be further from codependent and like did not, oh my God. Like I look back now and I laugh and I'm like,
That
"Oh my
resonates so
God."
hard.
Oh, the moment that that finally hit me, I was like, "Oh God." Because I've always
Damn it.
been so, yeah. And it's like, God, I am so freaking codependent because I depend on others and their reactions to feeling like how I should show up. And that's exactly what I did in
Mhm.
my marriage. And it backfired big time because it was like, oh, now that I'm like, that deep part in my being, like it was basically at the end was like, yo, like, no, like my higher self basically, like we had like a come to Jesus talk, and it was like, y- no, this is not like, you need to go, you need to grow,
Mhm.
and you
Mhm.
can't do that here. And so it was really fucking hard. It still is really fucking hard, especially
Yeah.
too because I'm like, well, we have kids, so we're always going to be like enmeshed.
Yep.
But I ultimately, again, a lot of it had to do with my kids because I was like, wait, once I acknowledged, like once I saw what was really like happening and this like how I was like playing into this really unhealthy dynamic, I was like, no, I can't like I can't let my kids see this. I can't like
Yep.
just
Yeah.
keep going this way. And like it's I, I've struggled always with setting boundaries. And so it was like, no, 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 this needs to be my, like, this is my year. I claim me. And
Wow.
as
Mm.
hard as it's been, and of course, like, as much as I'm like, I wish I would have just like claimed myself when I was 16, like, okay, I had to like, I also acknowledge, like, no, I am on the perfect journey. Like, this is exactly where, like, I need to be and
Mhm.
how I needed to get here. And,
Yeah.
it sucks because it does mean that like other people were hurt, but I mean, it's not to say that I didn't experience a lot of hurt and pain too, but it's like obviously it wasn't just like I figured this out on my own. Like it does involve other people's lives, and so trying to like figure all all of those details out. But a lot of it, yeah, just
Mhm.
had to do with like that higher self being like, this isn't where you need to be or where you're ever going to
Yeah.
grow, and it's not right. It's not right for you. Like you can't keep fighting it. You can't keep trying to say it's going to be better or that it's going to be different because it's not. And once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. And so it's like, well, what are you going to
Mhm.
do about
Mhm.
it? And that was the scariest thing for me because it was like I don't know how to have a voice. Like I don't want to do this. I don't want to like hurt somebody, but
Mhm.
it was
It's literally
either
been
them or me.
like your life's purpose to find your voice. And I'm
Yeah.
sure like you're still going to be put in situations on your path in the future that's going to challenge that and give like literally present opportunities where you have to speak up for yourself or
Oh,
voice
sure.
your desires and make sure that your needs are also being met. I really do believe that that is a big part of your purpose
Mhm.
is
Hmm.
finding this voice. And maybe too like being a realtor and having to like stretch yourself in these new ways and literally speak is like part of that journey too. I think like once you kind of stepped into that too, like motherhood for sure
Hmm.
changed you because you're like you're not just speaking for yourself anymore, you're speaking
Right.
for these other two lives. And like seeing you find like a career path that you are taking like has given you another voice and another place to step into that is yours. um just watching you evolve and grow, and honestly that relationship was very much like, if not most of it, like forcing you,
Yeah.
like giving you opportunity after opportunity to step up. Like it was so challenging, and it just kind of like I don't know. I feel like it's so beautiful listening to you take so much responsibility, and like I think that's the healthiest, most healing thing, like because of course any situation we're in, it is a 50-50 pull, and it is like you know, choosing to be a people pleaser, and like how much that did affect the relationship. Like, wow, that you can own that and see that. And yeah, of course, like, you know, feelings get hurt, and you're hurt, and that person's hurt, and you know, but like it is ultimately like such a huge blessing to have had that relationship and that opportunity, and to continuously be pushed you know, out of your comfort zone, because slowly, bit by bit, year by year, you were starting to discover that voice and exercise that voice. And then it brought you to a point where you just like could not use your voice anymore.
Right. That's what I'm like sitting here hearing. Like, even though you felt like you couldn't grow any further, there was a lot of growth that happened in that relationship, even if it was like internal and just for yourself. And I mean, obviously your children would not be here had it not been for that. And then also I really respect not staying for the children, because in some ways that is easier, but just knowing that they deserve to see you be a bad bitch on your own, instead of just making ends meet and making things work because that's what society tells us, or that would be easier.
Right. Yeah, I'm so proud of you and all your growth, and I know that it hasn't been like the easiest road, and this year has been emotional, but truly in the past 6 months, like, you are becoming the person I've always known you to be. Like that soul that I know, you know, that I was talking about earlier, like you are embodying her more and more every single day. And I'm just so excited to see you like step more into your power and start to use your voice and speak your needs. And, you know, like, honestly, it's so crazy because when we do finally begin to do that, it ends up being a lot easier than we think it's going to be. Like we get in our head so much about
living in your truth.
Yeah. And once you start to do that, I remember when I first started kind of speaking out a little bit more about my spirituality, something like I think I struggled with longer than I really remember. No tofu. But like you were one of the first people who were like, I see you, and like, don't stop, keep going. And I was like, okay, thank you. Like it gave me permission, like where I'm like, okay, the people who I love and who are so important to me and who are meant to be on my path are going to stay with me and grow with me as I grow into this person that I always have wanted to be. And it's really been a journey, and I'm not even close to being done yet. Watch out, world.
Yes.
But like, I think it's been such an honor and a joy to watch you like really take off that old skin and step into this person that like you still get to be this genuine, sweet, loving soul, but you still get to get what you want to.
Yeah.
You know, and
100%.
It's so
it's incredible. Not one or the other.
Yeah.
Then
it's
to
not
finally
a sacrifice.
no, and right, that, oh my God, what you said is everything, because it's like not only that, but where I finally am giving myself that permission to be like, because I fucking deserve it, you know, because like that is what's so different, and that's where it's just like feels that's where like I can feel it resonate so deeply in me, and I'm like, oh, that's where that like that's where all that like healing goes. So it's I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but
absolutely.
It's definitely received, and it's like a very different message that I tell myself, and that makes all the difference. But I hadn't allowed myself to like, even if I ever tried to say it, it like didn't sound right or feel right. Like I didn't believe it, you know. And now I finally am, and like I have moments of like, you know, my doubts or imposter syndrome. Like when Amber, when you first told me about the podcast that you and Taylor were doing, I was so excited. And you did kind of mention that you're like, we want like guest speakers. And I was like, yes. And then I listened to like, I think the first like 3 or 4, and I was like, oh my God, like what, like, is she crazy? Like, she can't have me on the podcast. Like, I am not adequate to be like speaking on this level. And like, it's
Yes,
honestly,
you are, bitch.
I know. And like, I have to tell you, and I know I've shared it before, but like you too, Taylor, like I appreciate it so much. Like this podcast has really just been this reminder that like, that it, it's been like a good, it's permission just for us to be authentically whoever it is that we are. And like, we all have our own stories, and so it doesn't matter. It's
Mhm.
like what I love so much about this podcast and just you in general, like what you're putting out into the world, is that like it doesn't matter where you are on your journey, or like it's not about competition, or it's not like, oh well, you're not doing something that serves the greater good. It's like you are just by existing, and that's such a beautiful gift. And like hearing that has been super helpful on this journey, because it just has been like this guiding light for me, and I love it. I also love how funny and silly you guys are, so it's been a total joy. But yes, there's definitely those days where I'm like, oh, like what am I doing, what am I like,
Mhm.
like I question it still. And then like I
Of
try
course.
to
Same.
remember,
Yeah.
yeah, to stay. I know. Real
It's
quick,
the
I want to
human in us.
it totally is, and I like I constantly do, I'll like gaslight myself. And I'm feeling called to, like, I do want to share. It's kind of like, I don't know if it's falls under the category of ghosty story, but I want to share it with you.
Oh my
Oh
gosh,
yeah.
yes.
Okay, so because I also love when those have popped up on the show. Also, hi Joey, um, love you.
Thank you
Um,
for bringing that up.
That means that's like our special sauce. This episode's going to be perfect and so easy to edit and put out.
I love it. Oh my God. Well, okay, so this would have been like late 90s, I guess, probably like 1998. I guess I would have been 12. And my grandpa had gotten really sick. He had, I don't know exactly how, like, the sequence, but like, he got really sick. He had like pneumonia, and then I think they discovered he had cancer like at that same time or something. So
Mm.
they I'm pretty sure he was like put on, again, I'm 12, so it's like, how much do you I don't know. I was more
Mhm.
like, let's go to the mall or whatever, like listening to
Mm-hmm.
Backstreet Boys or something, like, okay. Priorities, right? Priorities. So
Yeah.
because he had been living alone for a really long time, and so he ended up coming to live at our house. And he was staying, my mom had like transformed, I don't know, she'd like changed the guest room. She'd like got a hospital bed, and like, had it in there, so
Mhm.
like my grandpa would be staying with us. And he was like on an oxygen tank and stuff like that. And I think, I mean, I want to say he was only probably like here for like a couple weeks or something. He passed pretty quickly. But the the night that he passed, so we like shared a wall. He was like in the room right next to me. And I remember, like, I don't know, I like went to my mom that night, and I was like, so I'm like 12, right? And I was like, can I sleep in your room? Like, I didn't want to sleep in my room. And she was like, okay. So the since my grandpa was in a hospital bed, there had been a guest bed in there, and so the mattress was in my mom and dad's room. And so she's like, here, I'll set up the mattress for you on the floor. And so I like slept in my parents' room that night, and I was like down the hall. So if I like looked directly, like my feet were like facing down the hall, where like that led directly into the room that my grandpa was in. And I remember waking up sometime in the night and like looking down the hall, and I saw the light on, and like I fell back to sleep. And then when my mom woke me up that morning, and the first thing I asked was, "Well, how's grandpa?" And she's like, "Well, he passed away in the night." And I knew, I was like, yeah, like it was, of course, like I was so devastated. He was like my first, that was like my first big loss, like somebody I was really close to.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
like shortly after, probably would have been maybe like a month or two after he died, my my mom and her siblings had gone to his home to like they were selling the house, and so they like got all the belongings, and she had given to me, it was like a little tiny like ceramic pot that I had like painted for him when I was like 4 or something. And so
Cute.
and Amber, I don't know if you remember this, but like, okay, waterbeds were all the rage in the 90s.
Oh yeah.
And I had a
Uh-huh.
waterbed, and it had like,
Yep.
it was so ridiculous and like over the top for like a 12-year-old, but like it was a queen size waterbed. And it had this like, I don't even know how to explain the headboard. Like it had
Uh-huh.
shelves, it had like a mirror,
Yep.
it had like, it was wild, but it was
Same.
like
I can
I
see.
had, I put the pot at the very top of my headboard, like it was up there. It was like a big shelf up on top of the bed. And so
Mm-hmm.
I go to bed, and when I wake up in the morning, the little pot is on my chest, like upright. Like yeah, like just laying there. And I was
What?
like, what? Like,
I've
oh
done
my
that.
God. Like like
Like it's one thing to like fall down and like kind of be on its side or even
no,
upside down, but to be
no,
like
it
on your
it
chest
was on my
upright,
chest and upright, and I was
the
just like, what?
possibilities are slim.
Exactly. It was pretty wild. And I felt it. I felt him around for like a long time, but that was like the only thing that
Oh.
like happened.
Oh, it's a little
With
That's
the
hey, I
sweet.
love you.
yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah.
Love
But
that.
like
Oh.
it was really sweet. So it wasn't like a scary ghost story or anything. But I do have one of those actually. And it
No,
was
I love that.
also it was a time when
Bring
I
it
was
on.
visiting Amber when she lived in Colorado. I
Oh
don't know if do you
yeah. Oh
remember
my
that,
gosh.
Amber?
We've no, but I remember you mentioning like this when once we started the podcast. You're like, I even
Oh,
have one
yeah.
from when I came to visit you. So
Yes.
please delight us.
Okay, this one scared the bejesus out of me.
This
So
is when I was in Longmont, right?
yeah, so it was in
Yeah.
2013. You were living in Longmont, and my brother was living in Golden. And so I had actually, like, I was out in Colorado for like, I don't know, I was out there for like a good chunk of time, maybe like 10 days or
Yeah.
something. It was like around my
Yeah, I
birthday.
feel like it was almost 2 weeks that we got to hang out
Yeah, and just had
together.
like the best time ever. But there was one
Hmm.
day, and I had my dog Pigeon with me at the time because Pigeon was like, well, she was just the best dog in the
The
world, and
best.
That's
she
so
The
cute.
travels
best.
with me
Cute little pom.
everywhere. Yeah, little Pomeranian, best dog ever.
Hmm.
And so,
Hmm.
I think Amber, you were working that day, and like I had, I don't know. I was just like, it was one of those, like, I just had time. So I was just driving around, but maybe I was like going to visit my brother, waiting to meet up with him or something. And he was living in Golden at the time. And so I just decided to like go driving in these, like in the mountains in Golden. Like, I
Hmm.
did not know where the hell I was going. And, it was also really like snowy still, even though it was like end of April.
Hmm.
And so
Colorado.
yeah. And so I'm just like and like also it's like dirt road, and I lose GPS, and I'm like, okay, this is stupid. I'm like by myself with my dog, like probably should like turn around. Like the roads were just like it was not a very like good
Hmm.
um it just I wasn't getting a good feeling. But also I was like, I have to pee so bad. And
Oh
so I was
no,
like,
worst combination.
worst combination, because also like the roads were really bumpy and rocky, and I was like, God, this I
Uh-huh.
was like, okay, I need to like turn around. But there was also like mind you, it's like a small mountain road, like you can't just turn around. I was in my Subaru Outback,
Hmm.
but that's like a long car. I was like, I can't just like turn
Yeah.
around. I need to like find somewhere I can like pull over and like turn my car around. So I finally come across this like a rest stop. And so there's a parking lot, and I'm like, oh my God, thank God. And so I get out, and I actually, even though I had to pee so bad, I was like in awe of the beauty, because the snow was like sparkling, like it was rainbows of colors. Like it was
Hmm.
like this beautiful, fresh, untouched snow. And I've
Mm.
never seen anything like that. And I was just like mesmerized. Like
So
this is
pretty.
so beautiful. But also I was like, I gotta pee. And there was a like a porta potty. Well, more than a porta potty, but you know, like at rest stops, or like in like
Mm-hmm.
at hiking trails and stuff, they
Yeah.
have the little bathrooms. So I make my way like through. You have to like, so you're in the parking lot. You have to like go through like a little trail to get to the bathrooms. And so I finally get there. I'm like, oh my God. I like sit down. I'm relieving myself, and all of a sudden I hear I hear footsteps, or like I hear running. I hear like it just like intense running towards the bathroom. And I'm like,
Nope.
what the, and I grabbed the door and made sure to lock it because I literally, like, I didn't lock the door at first. I was like,
Like,
there's
no one's here.
nobody else out here.
Yeah.
And I am just like, my heart is racing because it runs and it stops right at the door. And I'm like,
And you can't
oh
see
my God,
anything because
I
you're
can't
in the
see anything.
bathroom.
There's no windows. And I'm like, I am freaking out because I'm like, okay, I didn't have my phone or anything. And also, I didn't have service anyway. But I
Oh
was like,
no.
what the fuck is outside here? It's either like some psycho serial killer who's been like hiding out in the woods, like waiting for me, or it's some like I was like, it could be an animal. Like it sounded like foot like human, but I was like, it could have been an animal.
Bigfoot.
Like, I don't know. But I was like, what the fuck do I do? And I was like mortified. I don't even know how I finally got the balls to like open the door. But I was like, I don't know. Like I basically like came to terms like this is it. I'm dying. Like whatever's out there is going to like eat me or murder me or whatever it wants to do with me. Like this is it. These are my last moments. Like, and I don't want to just
I'm
like
not
die in
staying in this
Portalette.
bathroom.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I was like, so here we go. So I open the door and I'm like, of course, I'm waiting for it. I'm like, what is gonna come and get me? And nothing. There's nothing there. I look around, there are no footprints, there is nothing there. But I like heard this clearer than day. Like, and you could hear it like running up. Like I
Oh
know
my
there was
God.
something out there. And I have never been so terrified in my life.
Oh
There
my
was something
gosh.
like that. And so of course, I like ran back to my car and just like drove the fuck away and was like, oh my God, what the hell just happened to me?
Nope, get me out of the forest.
So
Hmm.
glad you survived.
Right? Oh my God.
Oh my gosh, that just makes me curious of like what happened out there, and you have
Yeah,
no idea where you're at, so there'd be like no way to look it up. But I wonder if there was like some crazy incident and it was just the ghost energy,
right.
reliving that
My
experience.
first thought's like dimension shifting real quick, like some like
Oh,
maybe
whoa.
like there was a quick lapse of time where like somebody was running towards the bathroom in one dimension, but it just
Oh
like
my gosh,
lapsed.
that gives me a
Ooh,
lot of chills.
ooh,
I
Makes
don't know.
me
me
That was the
pee my
first
too.
thing
pants a
my
little bit.
brain thought.
Ooh, right. Oh my God. Yeah, whatever it
Taylor
was like.
really likes to go down these wormholes of the
Ooh,
Matrix and the
yeah.
timelines crossing
I'm
and
gonna
stuff.
move.
Yeah,
Who
so
knows?
funny. Wow, what a fun story.
Okay, I'll tell my weird story from the other night if we're just telling ghost stories really
Let's
quick.
do it.
Mickey is annoying, my dog, sometimes, and he like wanted to go back downstairs to go pee or something, and then I was like laying in bed and I was like, did Kurt lock the back door? And I got all nervous, so I like went
Mhm.
downstairs to lock it. And I swear to God, there was like a little boy standing, just like I could see him really clearly standing on the other side of the sliding glass door.
Like outside?
Yep, looked right at me.
Oh my
And
God.
I locked the door and I ran upstairs really fast. And I was like, oh my God, I'm freaking out. And I was like, I know I asked to see
Oh,
shit, but like, I don't want to see shit. Just take
right.
it. Take it back. I take it back.
That's a lesson
Oh,
in your spirit boundaries.
I said, "Oh nope, we're not doing that. Nope, 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 nope." As I like ran up the stairs, and then Kurt's like, "What's wrong?" I was like, "I saw a child," and he's like, "What are you talking about?" I don't know. I didn't look at him
oh
too
my
long. I
God.
just ran away.
Nope. Immediately no.
Oh
Mm,
my
immediately
gosh.
no. I mean, Richard here is different because he's just like out of your periphery, like
Uh-huh.
peripheral. Is that how you
Mhm.
say that?
Mhm.
And is like Shadow Man with
He's
the
just
hat, but
hanging out.
like I saw this whole child,
Oof.
I can
and
like
I
picture it.
say nope.
I'm seeing
Ugh.
like the little boy from Pet Cemetery, Sage.
I don't know.
Did you ever see that?
Uh-uh.
That's the little boy I'm seeing in my head,
Oh,
just like standing.
Gage, right?
Yeah. Or yeah, Gage, that's right.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Just like standing at your door. Oh my god.
Yeah, so that was
Well,
like
it's a
3
little
nights ago.
spooky.
Yeesh.
It's a little too
No
much.
thanks.
Mhm.
Well, how about we go into our questions?
Yeah, and then card pull.
All right.
Oh,
So,
okay.
we have two questions that we love to ask our guests at the end. And one of them is, what is like a self-care activity that you just, it's like your go-to or you can't live without? What do you do to take care of Monica?
Mm. Well, I think my absolute favorite, like the place where I just feel the most like, oh, melting it all away is like being in hot springs. I
Mm-hmm.
wish I could say that I could be in those more often than I am. So, because that
Mm-hmm.
is not something that's like readily accessible or available, it takes a drive, a trek. But
Mm-hmm.
when that can happen, that is like the best. Oh my God, like I don't
Mm.
want to leave. I
I
don't want to
want
get out of
that
I
there.
right
agree.
now.
It's so good. So good. Oh my God.
Love.
Okay. I'm just like thinking about it. I'm like, oh God, okay. So I'd say because yeah,
Mm.
it's like no, I usually have like I don't have a lot of time or like a lot of long periods of time to myself, but I think for me, ooh, I guess the next one would probably be like a walk in nature. Just being
Mm-hmm.
in nature, like breathing in fresh air and smelling trees and stuff is like the best.
So
Um,
grounding.
so grounding. Yeah, just it's like that's what I say. Like nature is my church. So if we're gonna get like, you know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Love
like
it.
if somewhere I need to be, that's where I need to be, where I feel most connected and grounded. But if it's like at home, it's usually just like a quick um, meditation, lighting some candles, Palo Santo, whatever it needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
Just like just calling in my higher self and my guides to help me like in that practice of like releasing because I know I take on a lot and that's like it's a big thing I'm working on is to like work on releasing things that aren't mine and to just
Mm-hmm.
allow in good. So that's been something that I do more on the daily that I'm just like, hey, yo, I need a little help here. Like that's been more of like a ritual for me to like take just those few minutes to breathe and like feel like welcome in what I want to take and release what I do
Hmm.
not want.
I love
Fuck
that.
yeah. Okay. Our second question is if you could tell little Monica, your younger self, something, what would it be?
Mm. There's a lot of things, but again, getting back to kind of what we talked about is like a lot of it also has to just happen the way it has to happen and at the time it's supposed to happen. But I think
Hmm.
something that still would have really helped me would have been to know or to say, like, don't put my value in other people's hands or opinions.
Mm.
Like, they do not get to say what my value or my worth is. Like, nope,
Huge.
nope, that is up to you. And you, like, no, it would have saved me a lot of time and trouble. Let's just put it that way. um,
Oh my God.
Definitely.
Great advice.
yeah.
I love that so much. That's really beautiful and yeah, something we haven't really heard yet too, and I think is really an important reminder because I think a lot of people, especially those born female, uh kind of fall into that complacency and really like wanting to be accepted in the world,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yep.
a lot of that comes with that's where the people pleasing steps in,
Oh, sure.
and yeah, that's not what makes you valuable because you matter
No.
too.
Hmm.
Right. Right.
I
So
fucking
yeah,
love that, Monica.
it's just breaking all those, well, all those lies, but just like all those, like, I mean, when you think about it too, how
Yes,
much attachment it is to just like previous generations too, and just
exactly.
all the other maternal energy
Boo.
that's been carried through.
Yeah,
We're
Exactly. And
not
I'm
doing
all,
this anymore.
no, right, Taylor, because it's like
Fuck
that wasn't
'em.
even mine to begin with. Like rude. I don't,
exactly.
no, pass. Yeah.
Yep.
Fuck yeah, I love that.
Yep.
So good. Okay, so
Mm.
we're just gonna um close out here with a card pull for the collective, and today we're pulling from the Star Seed Oracle deck by Rebecca Campbell. And Taylor's gonna pull us a card today.
All
So,
right, Monica, say stop when you feel ready.
oh yeah, I like that.
Stop.
Okay.
Love that.
Oh. This card says all paths lead home. Inner authority, intuition, turn your gaze within.
Mm.
The artwork is fucking beautiful.
Describe the card for us there, darling.
She's in this like lady in a wavy dress is in this watery bubble and maybe like a different planet. I mean, this whole it's called Starseed, yeah. So but she's in like a little rock labyrinth and possibly finding her way home.
So awesome.
Take a picture.
Okay, so this card represents inner authority, intuition, and turn your gaze within, like Taylor said. And the book reads, it's normal to look to the external world for answers and guidance. Holy fuck. Mic drop, we're done.
Oh my
my gosh.
Wow.
Thank you, universe, for being so spot on.
Seriously. God damn.
That makes me laugh really hard. What's revolutionary is turning your gaze inward. You're being called to source your guidance from within, to study the terrain of your inner landscape, to develop a reliable relationship with your soul. The more time you spend connecting with your soul, the deeper the connection will become. The challenge for empaths is staying connected without cutting off from the world. The best way to do this is to develop a daily practice that helps you keep checking in, to draw on the wisdom within, and let that be the authority in your life. Oh. Wow. If this card appears, you may be called to develop or switch up your spiritual practice, to get in the habit of turning your gaze within, getting centered for the day before consuming anything from the outside world. To start from a feeling of at-homeness and throughout each day to find simple ways to keep coming home. This doesn't mean switching off from the realities of today's world. We need as many conscious people as possible living with their eyes wide open. Rather, it's a call to start your day from a place of connectedness, grace, and devotion. So when you go out into the world and when you let the world in, you do it from an unshakable state of being, a state where you draw your strength, authority, and guidance from a place deep, deep within.
Beautiful.
And then it says Starseed Soul Inquiry. So this is something to meditate on or journal. How are you being called to turn your gaze within? That card could not be more perfect.
Yeah, that's something.
Yeah.
Holy shit. What does that make you feel, Monica? What's coming through for you? Because that's, I mean, it is for the collective, but I feel that was just a reminder for you too with everything we talked about.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel like we didn't need the podcast. You just needed to pull that card and it would have like said it all. No,
we'll just cut.
No, again, right. So to wrap it up, yeah, in a nutshell, that's what I was trying to say. But yeah, just a very powerful reminder. Yeah.
Is that a Fiora?
Yes, yeah, little tiny wee one. I know.
Babies.
I know. You want to come here, little baby?
Perfect time.
Oh, hi, Fiora, baby.
Hi, sweetie. Hi.
I love you.
She's gonna eat some berries while we wrap up here.
She's so
yummy.
Cute. Perfect.
Right. Yeah, I think, gosh, I think especially too, like Taylor, you were touching on it just a couple moments ago about like that it's also I think you were the one who brought it up, Taylor, about women being ones that like I think we tend to fall even more victim to those like that false voice or like from previous ancestral lines of like you're not worthy to have a voice and all these things. So I think it's super important to really look deep within us, because we do hold that power. And in fact, like, I think the reason we were like the reason it's stronger in women is because we do have it. We hold the ability for creation within us. You know, we have that
Mm,
ultimate power. And so the fact that we can create, you know, life is everything. And
yeah.
we need more people who are awakening to their higher potential,
Yeah.
because
Yes.
I think, again, and this is just my experience, was like, even though it's like I've touched on these things and I've known that, like, that I've been made for more, that I've been spiritual, but like I haven't really allowed myself to like tap into it fully until this year.
Mm.
And I think it's a gift. I do feel like it's a gift to the universe, because, like that was saying, the more
Mm,
we can like show up and present, like, the collective does need us. We are healers in a way, just to
yeah.
show up every day, to be fucking
Yes.
brave, to face the like, we're not in denial. We're not like saying we're like not existing in the same dimension or the same reality that other people are. It's
Hmm.
how to integrate that. And I think the more we're showing up to do that, it is going to be more of like a collectively felt um power or energy shift. And that for
Yeah.
me is like, that's everything. That's where it's like,
Mm,
I know I'm on that right path, or I know,
you
like,
are.
what I'm doing, yeah, what I'm doing is meaningful, and that I am finally like finding my own. And it just like, it does, it feels right. And it's a lot of it has been really hard. And um I call it growing pains, because it's like I'm finally for once feeling things. So like I am going
Mhm.
within, and it's hard. It can be really hard and scary to look at some of the stuff within, and even just what's happening on on planet Earth, and all the suffering and
Mhm.
things. So it's not
Mhm.
definitely not trying to like ignore what's going on, but just like really feeling it, but also like feeling our power. And that's
Hmm.
what I take from it.
I love that.
And
That
I'm just
is.
hearing, let's go, girls.
Dun,
Yeah.
dun, 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 dun.
Do-do-do-do-do.
Step aside.
I love that so much. Oh, thanks
Me
for that
too.
little hidden insight within your own soul. I'm so glad that resonated with you too, and just like really made you feel deeply
Yeah.
more into your conviction of like who you are on this
Mhm.
planet, who you get to be, and who you get to become in the world. Watch
Yeah.
out, you guys.
It was so
So
lovely to
amazing.
get to meet you
I
and
know.
hang out and chat today. I can't wait
Yeah.
to meet you in person.
Yeah.
Same, Taylor.
Bring your babies.
Yes.
I
Oh,
want
I
to
will.
cuddle them.
They're so sweet.
Aw.
So if people want to connect with you more, if they love you and they just like want to get to feeling your energy, where can people find you, Monica?
Or if they need to
So
buy a
you,
house.
Yes.
well, yeah, that too. Right. Even if you're not in New Mexico, I have really great connections, so I can help you buy, or, just be in good hands with whatever, like whether you need
Awesome.
to buy a home or sell a home, or, any of those things. I mostly am on Instagram. My Instagram handle is Desert Dwellers RE. And I'm also, let's see, yeah, I'm mainly mostly on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe like TikTok. I don't know if that's, gosh, I should know. I don't know. I might be Desert Dwellers Real Estate on TikTok. I tried to like, I went through like, what do you call it? A branding session, so that I would like
Hmm.
be, the same across board. Yeah, no, TikTok is Desert Dwellers Real Estate. So whoops, I
Mm-hmm.
goofed there. Um, but I also haven't like gotten very good about like posting on TikTok,
It's
but
hard
I,
for
I
us
love
millennials
Instagram.
to figure it out.
Yeah, it is. Oh my God. I'm all, what is this fandangled contraption? Yeah, no. So I'm mostly on Instagram, but uh yeah, you can also email me if you have questions, or if you need, like I said, if you need to like get connected with somebody in another state, because yeah, it's you want to feel really like good with that person on your side. You don't want to just like, because I've made that mistake, just like thinking like, oh, it's one size fits all, everybody is the same. Like they're totally not. So yeah, you just and like meet different people, interview different people, see if you feel their vibe. But my email is desertdwellersre@gmail.com. So that's another way you can find me too. But yeah.
And Monica's Instagram is so fun too. Her stories, she's always like putting up cool home fads and like asking for like, is this something that you would like? And it's just like this fun little addition. So even if you're not in the buying market or anything right now, like her Instagram is just lovely, and she's spreading her goddess joy, and like you can watch her grow and step more into her power too. It's such a delight over there.
Oh, thank you. Thanks
your
for
story
saying
is
that.
always one I gotta watch.
Yeah, yay.
And I vote
good.
on everyone that I see whenever I go on there.
Oh, good. I have fun with it. That's, I'm not gonna lie. And so I think that kind of like, it's not your typical, it's not like just, I promise, it's not just like houses
house for sale. Yeah, no.
Yeah,
it's so much more.
Yeah.
It's a little piece of Monica for sure. I love it. It's a piece of home.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Monica. I love you so very much.
I love you both. Thank you.
So
this was seriously such an honor. And thank you to Tofu.
He's been so good. He only tried to eat the table like twice.
Oh my God.